And we are live. Welcome back to On the King's Dime. Thursday night. We're back a little bit late this week. It was a single game week. We're going to be talking about that tonight. A loss against Melbourne. We'll talk about that. We also have a new signing to announce. We'll have a chat about how he's going to impact this team. And we also might have a little bit of a chat about the upcoming rounds. It's huge. We've got some huge games coming up over the next couple of weeks. It's a very short game week this week. We'll have a little bit of a chat about what we can do in the next couple of weeks. We have sort of been talking about it over the last couple of episodes about what we can do on this little run we've got going on here. But we'll go over it again. But as always, you can like, share, and subscribe. We're live right now on Facebook. Do these live on Facebook, usually on a Monday night. Today it's a Thursday. I was in Melbourne for a couple of days and now I'm back, ready to go. And yeah, you can also listen to us in audio form on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, on Spotify. We are on the Anchor platform, so that pushes all the way out to Spotify now, which is pretty good. And yeah, on YouTube as well if you want to watch us. We also do some content on YouTube when I get time to, or we both get time to do it. So check it out. Hopefully some more will come soon pre-playoffs, because the playoffs are coming very soon. I think there's only, 9 games to go? 3, 6, 9 games to go. So very, very soon those playoffs will be coming, and fingers crossed, hopefully we'll be in those playoffs. But yeah, we'll talk about this Melbourne game from the other night. Saturday night, was it? Sunday night? Sunday night, that's right.
Sunday at 3.
Sunday afternoon. An Arvo game, one of those games where it's like, oh, look, we're down in the fourth quarter. I might just take the time to go and play the little one.
Yeah, I turned it off. I was just like, no, I'm not watching the fourth quarter.
Yeah, so it was such a good start, though, man. That start was like red hot. And I was like, woo, all right, I like this. 31 points in the first quarter. Actually, looked pretty solid for those 31 points. Like, I thought Melbourne played all right. They hit some shots and they were playing decent defense. But, it was a solid start.
Solid start, but it was a very kind of hot Casper hot streak. Hit a lot of shots early on, and then no one else kind of got involved in the game. And then it really devolved. I think after that, our defense kind of let us down second quarter, and then it just devolved into no one could score. And Jarrell Martin probably had his worst game of the season as a kind of impactful four. Which was not good to see and didn't help. But, I mean, we were due for this, and it was kind of the right team to have this crappy game against. Yeah. We were due for one. We were definitely due for a crappy game. So, it didn't really faze me. I think we're still in third spot, tied with the Phoenix. The game wasn't impressive. It was very clear that there's still a little bit of work to do. I think the bench depth is questionable.
Well, it's non-existent, really, isn't it?
Oh, it's non-existent. Well, I was being nice, but Tommy V didn't have a great night. The bench didn't really have a great night. Jarrell Martin didn't have a great night, and need I say more? Casper, started hot and then just went into kind of the nether realm of nothing.
Yeah, so he started great. I'm just trying to look through the. I think he was four of his first 4, I think he made. And it was one of those ones where like, oh yeah, this is good. I think he was 4 of 5 to start from 3 or something like that. Let me just check. And he ended up being 5 of 12. And it was one of those nights where, he starts hot, it's great. And then you kind of think, oh, if he's going to cool off a little bit, we've got some other guys to step up and he can dish it around a bit and we can get some rhythm and flow offense. But that just didn't come. And it was just wasn't there at all. Jarrell Martin, if we're going to win games in this sort of environment against the bigger teams, the teams above us, he's got to put up 20, 24 points, 20 to 25 points and have a real impact. If you look at the difference, what was it, 103.78, and those 20 points really are the difference. I mean, there's no DJ, there's no Diddy. Brad Newley was out as well. Cooks is still not back. Moller had chipped in with 12 points, and Shawnee Bruce, I thought, had a pretty good game. He had 10 points, 5 assists. But it's that Jarrell spot, man. Like, without DJ, without Diddy, if Jarrell's having a game, that was not a good night from him, man. It was rough, really rough.
It didn't look good. It was a lot of, he wasn't deep enough. He didn't get deep enough catches in the paint, and he was trying to play from the 3-point line. I was just like, you're not that kind of player. Like if you catch it deep, in the post, I think you're skillful enough to get around guys and lay it in. But it's kind of like, man, when you start getting into the kind of 18 to 20 foot shots, you're just like, yeah, this is 30 to 40%. This is not a good value for option. And a lot of the guys were just hesitant to shoot. Lachlan Hutchinson just refuses to shoot even though he's wide open. And it's just kind of like, I think that was the kind of game just to let the ball fly as much as you wanted to. And, there was a lot of breakdowns in the offense. And maybe that is really just the fact that we're getting to some very, very strange rotations, purely out of the fact we don't have any players. We're relying on development talent in regular minutes, and not just as like a once off. It's kind of week in, week out, which is fine. But it's not going to win you championships. So this is something that we've got to kind of work out. I think this kind of can forward on to the Jared Weeks signing.
Oh, already? Let's just get rid of this game. It's done.
Let's get rid of this game.
No, there's a few more things I want to talk about.
Okay, all right.
Geordie Hunter again in a game where we probably expected him to have this kind of game already against Melbourne. In that last game, I think we won. He stayed on the floor. He has a real impact. That team, when we played Melbourne last time, was a lot more, we had a lot more fresh bodies. We're a little bit more well-rounded. In this game, defensively, I think JLA and Landale a little bit. Sorry, not Landale, like Peatling and, Scotty Hobson got into those cracks a little bit. We're exposing him a little bit. That's where, he suddenly just starts committing fouls and he kind of gets reffed off the floor. He ends up fouling out. It's one of those ones where you're just like, oh man, like, if he's struggling to keep himself in a game, that's when we're not going to have a great night offensively. And Tommy V, you mentioned before, that corner three ball just disappeared. I think he had all four, and I think all four of those were corner threes. And you were just like, oh, he didn't even knock one down. Damn. Like, that's we're having a terrible night if you can't knock those down. DK coming off the bench too, kick it, 13 points, 5 of 7. So showed some inside touch. We're like, this is good.
Kick it's nice. He's coming on a bit of an uptick towards the finals. I think we just got to get the rest of the guys around him. I think Newley would have plugged a lot of those minutes and a lot of those holes where we're really lacking some kind of offense and some fast transition. I think we got really stuck in the half court way too much. Which was an issue. And, once we get stuck in the hard court, it kind of becomes how much can Casper chuck it up? You know what I mean? Like, we're getting deep into shot clock and it's just handoff. Casper, 36 feet, terrible shot. Not his fault, but it's just kind of like, what do you do? We really are a professional guard short. I think Lachlan Hutchinson has some good minutes, but he's going to be an in and out player. He's not going to be the guy that's going to give you consistent minutes. And he's probably not of the confidence to just go out and take 5 shots. You know what I mean? Especially against this Melbourne team, which you kind of just needed to do. It's just like, this game is there to be lost. Who cares? We're not going to take some shots. So that really is it.
The other thing I wanted to mention too is Kickett, who had quite a decent offensive game where he was like, okay, yeah, and it really had an impact on the offensive end, a minus 32 on the night.
Yeah, but that's
whoa. A couple of pretty big runs. I think Melbourne's biggest run was 17. That's quite a large run in the grand scheme of things when we're looking at an all-round performance. And I think the other one was probably around that. It was probably 14 or 15 as well, where they took the game away in the third and fourth quarter. It's hard. Like, it's hard in this environment to go, well, that's another poor performance, a real kick in the nuts. It kicks you in the nuts as a performance, but you go, well, man, we've got no players. Like, there's nothing much we can really do about that.
That's it.
And there's nothing much you could really glean from a performance like this as well, I don't think. It's against Melbourne. It's a game where you can go, whatever. I think, it was nice to see Casper kind of tried to go to his offense a little bit. And you could see 40 in some of the timeouts kind of go to a little bit of a, kick him in the teeth style. Come on, boys. Like, do we really want to be here and play like this tonight? Like, why don't you just give it up type of thing? Which was good. Craig Muller, I thought, was pretty good off in the starting lineup. 12 points, 3 of 10. Like to go to the hole a little bit too much, a little bit in that tall timber, sort of JLA and Peatling and that. And then 5 or 6 on the line, so it was good to see him get to the line a little bit.
My
Yeah,
thoughts exactly.
11
But
boards.
Molly is one of the best rebounding kind of small forward, power forwards in the league. I think his AFL skills have done him proud. We did kind of get smashed on the offensive glass this game as well, which was another thing. But that can completely put down to Geordie being off the floor. There was a lot of sloppiness in this game. I saw there was a lot of kind of crowding and standing around
Yeah.
and not dispersing effectively. It might just be a fatigue thing. It might be just switched off for the week because they knew that it was a loss they could take mentally and they needed to get ready for a deeper run in the next 9 games. Sometimes you just got to take these losses and no one gets injured.
Yeah, it looked like in that first quarter they wanted it. They wanted it badly. It was just they took the punch, and you could see once they took the punch, they kind of just went, "Yeah, let's hit the deck, boys, and cover up and just cop this as a loss a little bit." But also, I don't know, like it kind of looked like that, but at the same time, we were pretty helpless, I think, offensively to even get anything going. And I don't necessarily think there was an element really of us giving up. I just think, we tried to stay with them in that third and fourth, and they hit some shots. We caught Chris Golding on a good night. Again, he hasn't played that well in the last couple of weeks. He had a bit of a disappointing night again against Perth. But for them to get 18 points off the bench from Hobson, he still, you just watch him and you're just like, okay, like he gets buckets. And in a game like this, where the game's broken, both teams start quite well, and then the game sort of breaks down into a little bit of a scoring fest. It's just like, Scotty Hobson, okay, he's going to make some buckets. And then you look at our roster and you're just like, do we have a bucket getter apart from Casper Way? Just like, who can just get us some buckets? It's like, Casper, that's about it, really.
Well, it should be Jarrell. It should really be Jarrell. That's what, you bring him as an import, former NBA player, NBA quality. But, he just had a bad night, and that's, that's what you're going to get out of him sometimes.
And you were 100% correct in the fact that they were kind of pushing him out above the key type of thing, and he was getting these catches really high up. And it's still a bit worrying that we don't quite have a setup that gets him going anymore, like like we did at the start of the season. Like that's kind of disappeared a little bit. He's struggling. We're struggling to get him post touches. He had a few fadeaways where you're just like, yeah, those were going down at the start of the year, and they're not going down at the moment. So I don't know. I'm still a little bit like, it was a bad performance, but at the same time, there was some, I think, worrying trends in the fact that if we can't establish him in the low post, like I think if you want him to score the ball, you kind of got to work to establish him in the low post, get him moving, getting those fadeaways going, getting those elbow jumpers going a little bit. But yeah, we couldn't really get that going, which was a little bit of a worry. But so tough night. Tough night. What about this Melbourne team? They go and then lose to Perth. And then I kind of was left feeling like, they lose to Perth, like, and our boys can't get a win. I was a little bit like, man, come on. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah. I just was like, you go, it's scheduled loss. We can lose this game. But then once you're in the heat of the game, you kind of like, just want to win. Like, I want them to win.
Yeah, I kind of thought that just the amount of Casper ISO in the first quarter, I thought this is a false sense of security. No one else is going in a good way. And, this could end, one quarter very badly. And it did. And Melbourne went on a good run. And, they had some fast-flowing offense, and they were at home as well. So there was a little bit of home cooking on a couple of calls. It wasn't anything too salty, but...
Should we talk a little bit about the salt?
I didn't have too much salt this game. It was just like, it was...
How about that Lockie the charge burglar charge call that was just clearly a charge, and they're just like, nah, blocking foul. And I'm like, whoa, I think that's the first time this season where I've seen like there's a legitimate charge and they call it a blocking foul. Like, wow. Yeah. Usually they get that one wrong.
That's a rookie call.
Yeah, and 40 was going nuts on the sideline. I was like, yes, get into him, 40, get into him. And he was like going, that was great defense. Lockie, mate, great defense.
Great play, mate. You did all the right things, mate. Well done. Well done.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it. And then what about Shawnee Big Balls' travel, where they were just like, poop travel. Yeah, I saw that, mate. I saw Eagle Eyes. I'm Eagle Eyes over here. And then Chris Goulding like dances across the lane. He's like shuffling all the way to Tasmania. Gets on the ferry and then just runs back into the lane and hits a jumper, and he's just like, what the hell, man? He took like 6 steps and like shuffled his feet. What the hell are you doing? So I thought there was, there was a bit of home cooking, and then at the end of the day, you kind of just left going, whatever. If it was a closer game, I probably would have got a little bit more upset and a little bit more fired up. We like getting fired up about the refs. Did you see the game against Perth where it was Peatling goes to save the ball from the out of bounds? He's in bounds by about that far. And the guy's like, eagle eyes, I saw it, you're out of bounds. And I just watched the replay. And the guy's like in by like this far. Like he's not even near the baseline. It's like, oh God. So yeah, it was tough loss. Galvanized at the end or like later on in the week by the signing of Jared Weeks. Did you see what I did there? Woiekzeee. Welcome home to Woiekzeee. I think, a live body. He has a pulse and lungs, can use his legs. So I think get him in.
I've seen him dunk.
He's dunked?
Yes.
Really?
I think he had one dunk this season.
Wow, we're gonna have to find that
6'1".
clip. We're gonna have to clip that and get that in there because I want to see him dunk. If he can dunk the ball, I want to see him do it.
See, for my mind, the signing to go get was Dengadell. It may still be, I don't know, but that's the signing to get. I mean, Illawarra part ways. He was not really ever introduced into that system efficiently. I've seen what he can do. I've seen how he can play. I've seen what he can put up. There's a reason why he got picked up in the NBA for a good stretch of games. But he's just never kind of recaptured that because I think he's always been like the third choice in all the teams he's kind of got to after that. And, he could be an athletic slashing 2-3 combo guard forward that can give us some real scoring options in some dead space runs. So, I mean, we really do need depth. I mean, I don't know how far Xavier Cooks is away.
Just quickly on that, does that look like we're putting him in the lineup, but he's really not, like he's really miles away from being ready? I just feel
they're just doing it. They're just doing it. So he has to have been on the roster for a certain number of games to actually be eligible. They reckon he's another 3 weeks away. So he might get a game in, and he'll be on minutes restrictions as well. So just and here's 10 minutes of Xavier Cooks not shooting the ball and maybe playing some around the basket. And you're just like, he's a confidence player as well. He's a massive confidence player, and he's going to want to get back out there. But I mean, with minutes restrictions and really we don't need another guy who can just play around the rim. We need a shooter. We need a couple of guys that can shoot the ball.
Just so. That's where kind of like Dengadell, like if you brought him in, you kind of not really a gunner. Like this would be just the perfect spot for DJ, man. But it's just such a shame he got injured.
That's, we're kind of limited to the talent pool in Australia and New Zealand.
But yeah, Dengadell I think would be a good signing. And again, it has that feel of like he's got a pulse. He can run up and down the floor. Sweet, get him into the team. Yeah. But at the same time, like if we didn't have already an established kind of like Casperism going on, like Casper's the man type of thing. Like if we had a lesser point, say for example, Shawnee Bruce was running this team and there was no Casper Ware, like you could bring Dengadell in and go, look, you're going to be our designated scorer, get to the hoop, slash, shoot the ball.
This is the problem: is Casper goes cold for serious stretches of games sometimes. And that's where we fall over. If Casper's flowing for the full 40 minutes, and let's be real, he's playing 38 to 40 minutes a game, we get wins.
He played 32 in this game.
Yeah, because, I mean, really...
Did you see that air ball? He got subbed out. It was like, whoa. They let him know about it too. But yeah, on the Casper thing, it's like, I still feel like there's always a sense of, it's Casper's team though, man. And like, you don't want to upset Casper. Like, even if we were to bring in another player who could like gun as a scorer, the whole team's kind of built on that, the togetherness mentality, but it's still Casper's team, So I don't know. It's a weird thing. I think Weeksee's a more level of what with this team kind of, we bring in another guy who kind of plays hard on defense, works hard, good locker room guy. That's more like the signings that we've been making.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't want to say it again, like we whiffed on Magnay a little bit. Do you reckon?
I think we've...
there's rumours that we weren't even in for him, and there's rumours that, he wasn't even going to consider coming to Sydney, but at the same time, like, considering either side of the situation, again, I feel like that's another whiff. Like, he would have been perfect if we could have brought him in.
Yeah, I think there's two things you have to think about that. Is that one, where do you slot him in for minutes? Because he's not. We really don't have a five problem in terms of depth because we've got Jarrell, we've got Kickett, we've got Geordie, right? There's not an injury problem at five. We've got Cooks coming back.
Don't forget Tommy
That's
V.
well, Tommy V's really a 3-4 combo kind of
Yeah,
forward.
yeah.
What we really have a problem with is a shooting guard, a two guard. We really don't have a two guard. Um, so what do you do?
Bring him in anyway. Lock him up for 3 years. I'm in. But yeah, you went to Perth, and it's just another one where you're just like, oh, okay, sure, go to another team. Then that's great. You know, another guy where we're just like, oh, great.
Yeah.
But yeah, Woiekzeee, what do you reckon, Woiekzeee? What's your vibe? What's your thoughts?
He's had games in the past couple of years. You're like, Jared Weeks is
Especially
doing
against us
something
too. Like, there's been a few games where you're just like, oh, Woiekzeee, like, and hit some chalky shots where you're just like, Woiekzeee, get out of here, mate.
He's going to have to come in and play a few minutes as well. Like, this is not going to be like, hey, Weeksy, this is not going to be a Kendrick Drew situation. Kendrick Drew.
Kendrick Drew.
He doesn't get his name said properly until he actually scores some buckets. Kernish Drew, this isn't a Kernish Drew situation where he literally is a warm body for 6 minutes a game kind of thing. I think Weeks is going to actually have to get in and just like, I need to score in runs, you know what I mean? Like, there needs to be some scoring action here.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his stats. They don't make for great viewing.
No.
He's taken 22 of 61 from the field, 36.1%. Shooting the three ball at 20.5%, 9 of 44. That's rough, man. That's rough. But again, Diddy was shooting the ball quite roughly. Only 26.4% from
Diddy
him.
was a 6'5" guy that could lock down.
Yeah, he was a lockdown defender. So yeah, I'll just, again, it feels like another, good locker room guy by all accounts. Another body, we can put out on the floor. I think you could kind of trust him. I think he has the ability and the experience of a guy higher than a level of, a Kernish Drew or a Lockie Hutchinson type of player. But again, it's rough, man. This is a rough stretch for us. And, if we can't get something out of this run we're about to go on, man, it's like, okay, you kind of just go, well, okay, like the injuries, we're happy to blame them. But really, if we can get something out of this stretch, man, cement a playoff spot, it's just going to be like, yes, they're going to celebrate it all the way to the bank. So
it's going to be needed.
So interesting times. Let's quickly just do our 3-2-1 for this game.
I'm going to go. I mean, 3 has to be Casper.
Yeah.
Because he's pretty much the only one that scored. 2 Moller.
Moller, yep.
And one for Brucey. Big Bells Brucey.
Moller and Bruce. I'm going Moller and Kickett. Even though defensively he was a massive, massive minus, but I liked his offensive game. I just think we're going to have to give him these post-up moments, I think, over the next couple of games. And especially, we'll talk just quickly before we do tipping. We'll just talk. We've got 36ers this round.
Here we are. This is my thinking. I think a really good lineup to take this in down the stretch is that, okay, Cooks is on minutes restrictions. I like Jarrell and Geordie on the floor at the same time. I think that gives, like, the two big men. Geordie can run the lanes and Jarrell can get in the post. But I like Cooks. I like a Cooks Kickett lineup because Cooks can get in and play around the basket, and Kickett can slink out and shoot. Play the 4. He can play the 4 defensively as well. I mean, he's going to get blown by some, but I don't know. There's not really that many great fast 4s in the league.
And that's kind of where Cooksy makes his money. I think is his speed. He's got good foot speed. Laterally, he's quite quick. On the downhill, he's really good at recovery. His recovery pace. So I'm also thinking, man, I wonder how much of that is gone with that injury, and how much of that he's necessarily going to have to get back. It's going to take him a couple of weeks. I think he was really flying in that. It took him a few weeks, and then to go into that postseason, he really hit a peak. And you could tell he was peaking. He was playing probably some of the best basketball I've seen him play. And we'd seen him a few times overseas playing. I think that's probably the best I'd seen him, not worrying about shooting the ball. If he did shoot the ball, he shot it. But at the same time, being a real defensive presence as well as around the rim, getting downhill Who can forget that sweet play that he had on Golding at the end of that game in the finals? So I think that was one of the real highlight moments of his career. But yeah, it took him a few games. It took him a couple of months, really. I think from coming down under to get back into this league, and I think it's going to take him a little bit more time. So yeah, yeah. Look, Woiekzeee, it's good to have him. It's good. He's a live body. Shall we go to tipping?
Sure.
I'm just trying to get up the actual week. It's a very, very short round, only 4 games according to the
Yes.
according to the NBL website. The first one is Southeast Melbourne at home to United.
I'm going to go United for this one.
Yeah, United for me. They'll bounce back after losing to Perth after winning 11 straight.
Yes.
Yikes. Types at home to Brisbane.
Brisbane.
Brisbane. Watch the Types just chalk out a win in that one. Kings at home to the 36ers. Kings. I think we're going to beat the 36ers. We'll have a quick chat about that too after this. And then Perth at home to New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Yeah, that's right. You're back on that Breakers train.
I'm just on the Breakers train against Perth. They're just like Perth's bogey team.
Yeah, they lost obviously to them the other day, but is that a bogey team or is it just one loss out of? No,
Don't know. I'm just going with Breakers.
Yeah, and you're also in grenades mode as well.
Yes. I'm waiting for the big rounds.
Yeah, so I went United, Brisbane, Kings, Perth, just in case I didn't say them clearly and people think I'm a liar. Now, short week, Adelaide. Adelaide are coming off a win against the Taipans and a loss. No, they beat Brisbane. That's right, I tipped Brisbane. What's your thoughts on Adelaide? That chalky dude, Paul, man. He's chalky kind of Paul.
They've played one more game than us. Brisbane actually played 2 less games than us. This is going to be a tight finish. I think this is going to be a lot tighter than we realise. I mean, Josh Giddey is hitting peak form. He's had 2 triple doubles.
He's got a couple pretty good, man.
He's LaMelo-esque. I mean, we ragged on LaMelo so much, but watching that dude in the NBA, just like
worth it.
Yeah, he is. Some of the passing is outrageous. I mean, it is the Hornets though, so it's just highlight reels with no substance. But Josh,
I feel like Giddey's like more a complete player though.
I do. I think defensively he's probably a little bit less of a body than LaMelo. I think LaMelo's a little bit more crafty running the lanes. I think Josh Giddey's probably not as crafty running the lanes. But in terms of shooting and passing, there seems to be more substance there. I mean, I'm very interested because the hype train was LaMelo. Josh Giddey is an identical player, 6'8", same height. Bit bigger body. It'd just be interesting to see where he goes in the draft. I mean, they're thinking 14, but I think his stocks might rise to a top 10 pick.
Wow. On this Adelaide, on the back of this Adelaide stuff, maybe?
I think so. I mean, this is a kid who has grown a lot in the last year. It is very hard to put up a triple-double in FIBA. Very hard. And he's doing it and winning games, which is the more important thing, because you can put up stats just for the sake of stats.
Yeah. But it's super hard as a guard to do it.
Yeah. It's just, it's very, very hard. That team's had some players dropping in and out, had some injury runs. Humfo's back, not as good as he was, but he does have the ability to play at an elite level. Probably a little bit lacking in depth. It's going to be a tough game for Sydney, man. Adelaide could throw some wins here together, and they're up there. They're equal with us on 14 wins.
Just going to bring up the table, the ladder. So just as it sits right now, when it decides to come up,
it's Kings 14 wins.
Yeah.
Phoenix 14 wins and Hawks 13 wins, and they've all played 27 games. Brisbane has played 25 and they're 11 wins. see, for my mind, Adelaide's more of a threat than Brisbane in that respect. The Sixers have played 28 games, so they've played one more. They've had 12 wins. And then you've got the Breakers and then the Taipans, who have gone from the most exciting, probably, my most exciting team last year. Like, they were cool. And they were a big prospect this year to being the most disappointing team I think I've ever seen.
Disgusting.
Disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful.
That's brutal. But this Adelaide team, 12-16, they're gonna win. They got to have a huge run if they're going to come home with a real wet sail if they're going to make these finals. I
wonder if this is the other thing as well. I wonder if Giddy pulls out to
focus on the draft. No, I think he's got to play, man, because he's got to have more triple doubles and got to really put himself in the shop window. I don't think he can pull out. I don't think his draft stocks are guaranteed. But he's definitely been in great form. DJ again, DJ and Humpho, and then Humpho seemed to just, fire up and become Super Saiyan against us, in that first game, and then just absolute dog turd in the second game. It's gonna play, and then Brandon Paul. I don't know why I always want to call him Chris Paul, but it just doesn't make any sense. He's a guy that, if you get in his face, if you wind him up, he can, fire up and have a good game. I don't know, man. It's a worry. I think if we can kind of reel off, what are we looking at? We've got Adelaide, Bullets, Adelaide, Breakers. We've got to win one of these Adelaide games. We've got to beat the Bullets, and we've got to win one of the Breakers game at the minimum, I think, for us to make the finals. Because then the Perth United Hawks run, I think, is going to be the defining point. Yeah, and that's where, if we do the lifting now, and we come to that point where, all the heavy lifting is done early, then we can afford to cruise through those 3 games and through to the end of the season. But yeah, we've got to, oh man, this is a huge stretch. I think we're going to have to do some content as well, I reckon.
Yep.
Anything else we want to go through for this week? It's been a little short one, just another one gamer coming against Adelaide. So we'll be back probably Monday night, hopefully.
Yes, for sure.
Anything else you want to plug?
No. That is all.
That's all. As always, you can watch us live. We're currently live on Facebook streaming, and you can also watch these in replay on YouTube and on Facebook. Also in audio form, we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify through the Anchor platform. So definitely go and check us out if you want to listen to us in audio form, if that suits you. And as always, we will see you guys next time
on the King's Dome.